I stayed in the most haunted motel in America, and what happened inside those walls is something I will never forget for the rest of my life, because from the moment I stepped through the creaking front door, I felt like I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. People say you can feel danger before you see it. Like the air around you thickens, your heartbeat starts pounding in your throat, and your instincts start screaming at you to turn back. And that's exactly what I felt the second I checked in. But I was stubborn, curious, and way too confident for my own good. The motel was an old rundown building sitting alone on a deserted highway in Arizona, where the wind sounds like whispers and the desert seems to swallow sound itself. And the manager, a thin, pale man who barely made eye contact, slid the room key across the counter as if he was handing me something cursed. He didn't even give me the usual "enjoy your stay." Instead, he said, "If you hear knocking, don't open the door," and walked away before I could ask him what he meant. That was the first red flag. The second was the old guest book next to the counter, filled with comments like, "I'm never coming back. I heard someone breathing in my room all night, and if you're reading this, leave before sunset." But I brushed it off, thinking it was some kind of creepy marketing trick to attract thrill seekers like me. So I went to my room, room 7, and the hallway was long, dim, and silent in a way that didn't feel natural, like the kind of silence that exists in a place where something terrible has happened. My footsteps echoed behind me as if someone else was walking with me, and when I stopped, the echo took half a second too long to stop with me. I unlocked the room, pushed open the door, and immediately smelled something old, something rotten, something like damp wood mixed with the faintest hint of cheap perfume. The room looked normal at first glance. A bed, a lamp, a dusty window, and a bathroom door slightly open. But there was a feeling in the air that someone had just been standing there seconds before I walked in. I shrugged it off and started unpacking, but every few minutes I felt like someone was watching me, almost breathing over my shoulder. I checked behind the curtains, under the bed, even inside the closet, but nothing was there. At least nothing I could see. The sun set quickly that evening, faster than normal, like the sky didn't want to stay above this motel any longer than necessary. And by the time darkness took over, the temperature dropped so fast the walls started cracking lightly as they expanded and contracted. I tried to distract myself by watching some videos, but the signal kept cutting, and every time the screen glitched, I saw what looked like a human silhouette in the reflection behind me, a silhouette that disappeared the moment the video resumed. At around 11 p.m., I finally lay on the bed, planning to sleep early, but the mattress felt like someone else had been sleeping in it minutes before me, still warm in a way that made my skin crawl. I turned the lamp off, and after only a few seconds, I heard it. 3 slow knocks on the door. Not loud, not frantic, but deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. My heart froze. I remembered what the manager said. If you hear knocking, don't open the door. So I stayed still, hardly breathing, telling myself it was probably the wind or some prank. But then I heard a voice whisper from the other side. A woman's whisper, calling my name. I have no idea how she knew my name. The voice was soft, shaking, like someone begging for help, and she said, "Please, let me in." My entire body went numb. I didn't respond, didn't move, didn't blink. A few seconds later, I heard footsteps walking away slowly, dragging against the red carpet like someone whose shoes were too heavy. I wanted to run out, drive away, leave everything behind, but I forced myself to stay put until morning. Around 2:30 a.m., I woke up again, not because of a sound, but because I felt the bed sink behind me, as if someone had sat down on the edge of the mattress. I was frozen, too scared to turn around. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, maybe my body playing tricks on me, until I felt cold fingers brush the back of my neck, slowly, like someone gently tracing my spine. I jumped up, turned the lamp on, and the room was empty. But the bedsheet had a visible indentation, shaped exactly like the outline of a human body sitting there seconds earlier. My breathing was out of control. I grabbed my phone and opened the camera to check behind me in the reflection. And that's when I saw her, not in front of me, not beside me, but standing right behind me in the reflection. A pale woman with hollow black eyes and long tangled hair, staring at me as if she'd been waiting for me the whole night. I spun around, but she vanished. The room felt colder, heavier, darker. I grabbed my jacket, my bag, my car keys, and ran toward the door. But before I could open it, someone whispered into my right ear, "Don't leave yet." And it felt so real, so close that I could feel the breath on my skin. I burst out of the room and sprinted down the hallway, and the lights above me flickered violently as if something was following me. When I reached the lobby, the manager was already standing there, wide-eyed, as if he knew exactly what had happened. He didn't ask questions. He simply said, "Room 7 doesn't like strangers. You should go." I didn't argue. I rushed to my car, started the engine, and the moment my headlights hit the motel sign, I saw the same pale woman standing in the window of room 7, staring at me with a smile that didn't belong to this world. I drove away so fast I nearly skidded off the road, and even miles later, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was still watching me. And the strangest part? When I checked online later, I found out that room 7 hasn't been booked in over 10 years. Because the woman who died there, the same woman I saw, never left. And now, sometimes, late at night, when my room is dark and silent, I still hear those same 3 slow knocks on my door, as if she followed me home. After escaping the haunted motel, I thought the nightmare was over. But I was completely wrong, because what happened afterward was far more terrifying than anything inside room 7, and it all started the moment I reached home and realized the haunting had followed me, or maybe it had chosen me, and maybe that woman in the motel wasn't T-trapped there at all. Maybe she was waiting for someone to carry her out, and that someone was me. For the first 2 nights, everything seemed normal, almost too normal. But on the 3rd night, around 3 a.m., the hour people call the devil's hour, I woke up to the same feeling I felt in that motel bed. The mattress sinking slowly, like someone was sitting beside me, watching me sleep. And when I opened my eyes, I wasn't met with darkness. I was met with her scent, the same faint, cheap perfume I smelled in room 7. I froze instantly. Slowly, I turned my head, expecting to see her hollow black eyes inches away from my face. But instead, the room was empty. Or at least it looked empty. The indentation on the mattress was fresh, deep, shaped like a body. And before I could move, before I could breathe, I heard it. 3 slow knocks coming from inside my closet. My heart nearly stopped. Knock, knock, knock. The same rhythm, the same cold echo that came from the motel door. I wanted to run, scream, do anything, but my legs locked, like something unseen was holding me down. Then the knocking stopped, replaced by a dragging sound, like long nails scraping the inside of the wooden door. I whispered to myself, "It's not real, it's not real." But deep down I knew it was. The air turned icy. My breath became fog in the darkness. Slowly, the closet door began to open. Not quickly, not violently, but gently, as if someone wanted me to see who was inside. The gap widened just enough for me to see her silhouette, the same outline I saw in the motel reflection, standing motionless, head tilted, hair covering her face. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, but the moment the light hit the closet, the silhouette vanished. The closet was empty, completely empty. But the smell of her perfume was stronger now, as if she had just escaped and was standing somewhere behind me. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, I convinced myself it was stress, trauma, maybe a hallucination, but deep down, fear was settling into my bones like something permanent. I avoided my bedroom for the entire day. I even stayed out of the house until sunset. When I came back, I turned on every light in the house, triple-checked every room, and tried to distract myself with music, But around midnight, all the lights flickered at once. The music glitched, and my phone restarted on its own. Then I heard whispering, not loud, not aggressive, but soft, almost gentle, like someone standing inches from my ear saying, "Why did you leave?" My blood turned cold. I spun around, but nobody was there. I ran to the bathroom, splashed water on my face, but the moment I looked in the mirror, she was there, standing behind me again. But this time, she wasn't still. Her head twitched slowly to the side, like she was trying to examine me, understand me, memorize me. I blinked, and she disappeared into thin air. I fell back against the sink, shaking violently. I needed answers. I needed to know who she was and what she wanted. So I went online that night and searched up the motel again, digging deeper into old forums and forgotten posts. After hours of scrolling, I found something terrifying. A police report from 1998. A young woman named Emily Gray had checked into room 7 and was found dead 2 days later with no signs of injury, no signs of struggle, nothing except a look of sheer terror frozen on her face. The file said she died of unexplained cardiac arrest, but locals believed she didn't die naturally. They believed she was taken. One comment said, "If you ever see her, don't let her follow you home." My stomach dropped. It was too late for that. The next night was the worst night of my life. I woke up again around 2:50 a.m. to the sound of someone breathing heavily near my ear. Slow and shaky, like someone who hadn't spoken in years trying to whisper my name. I pulled the covers up, trembling, and then I felt cold fingers slide across my ankle, exactly the same way she touched my neck in the motel. I yelled and turned on the lamp, but the light burst instantly, exploding with a spark and plunging the room into darkness again. I scrambled to grab my phone, and when I turned on the flashlight, she was standing right next to my bed, closer than ever before. Her face was pale like moonlight, her eyes were bottomless black voids, and her jaw hung slightly open as if she was trying to speak but couldn't. I froze, completely. She leaned forward, inches from my face, and whispered, "Don't run." Then the closet door behind her slammed shut on its own. I did the only thing I could. I ran out of the house barefoot and stood outside shaking until sunrise. The next day, desperate for answers, I drove back to the motel. It felt insane, but something inside me told me the only way to stop this was to understand it. The manager looked shocked to see me alive. Without me asking anything, he said, "She chose you. That means she thinks you can hear her." I felt sick. He continued, "She doesn't want to hurt you. She wants help." Help? A ghost was ruining my life because she needed help? I asked him what I had to do, but he just shook his head and said, "She'll show you." That night, I stayed at a nearby hotel, a normal one, but Emily didn't care about locations anymore. Around 3 a.m., the temperature dropped again. My window fogged up from the inside, and when I wiped it, words appeared on the glass as if written by an invisible finger. Find what they did to me. My heart nearly burst. She wasn't haunting me to torture me. She wanted me to uncover the truth behind her death. But the problem was, I didn't know how far the truth went, or what kind of darkness I was about to step into. The next days became a terrifying investigation. Whenever I looked into old files, she appeared at night, pointing towards certain pages. If I searched the wrong thing, she would slam doors, knock on the walls, drag her nails across the floor as if warning me. She was guiding me, haunting me, yes, but also leading me somewhere. And then, one night, she revealed the truth in the most terrifying way possible. I was reviewing an old newspaper from 1998 when suddenly my bedroom became ice cold again. My breath turned white. I whispered, "Emily, what happened to you?" And then every light in the room flickered violently. My ears rang, my head spun, and then I saw it not with my eyes, but like a memory being forced into my mind. A vision, a horrible, vivid vision. Emily standing in the same motel room, not alone, with a man whose face was twisted with rage. She tried to scream, but he covered her mouth. She tried to run, but he pushed her down. The vision was so real I could smell the dust, feel her fear, hear her heartbeat like it was inside my own chest. Then the vision snapped away. I collapsed on the floor, gasping. Emily didn't die naturally. She was murdered, and the motel covered it up. When the vision ended, Emily stood in my room, staring at me with those hollow eyes. But this time, she didn't look angry. She looked relieved, like I finally understood her. She whispered, "Finish it," and disappeared. Now I know what she wants. She wants me to expose the truth, reveal the story the world never heard, and bring justice to the woman trapped in room 7 for more than 20 years. But here's the terrifying part. The man who killed her was never caught. And according to recent records, he's still alive. And he still visits that motel. And Emily is not letting me go until I find him. Everything changed the moment I learned Emily's killer was still alive. Because from that point forward, the haunting wasn't just about fear anymore. It became a countdown, a warning, almost like she was preparing me for something coming closer every night. After the vision of her murder, I barely slept, barely ate, and every time I closed my eyes, I felt her presence standing in the corner of my room, silent but urgent, as if time was running out. I started digging deeper into motel records, and that's when I found a name that appeared again and again. Arthur Crow, a night staff worker who mysteriously quit 2 days after Emily's death and disappeared from public records. The more I looked into him, the more Emily's ghost reacted. Lights would flicker violently when I opened his file. The room would shake softly when I searched his address, and at one point, my phone overheated and shut down the moment I tried to load his picture. It felt like she didn't want me to just know about him, she wanted me to face him. The next night, around 2:58 a.m., I woke up to the sound of something being dragged across my hallway floor, slow and heavy, like a limp body. My heart pounded as the dragging sound grew louder, closer, until it stopped right outside my bedroom door. Then, the doorknob began to twist on its own. I stared at it, unable to breathe, and when it finally opened, I saw Emily again, but she wasn't alone. Behind her, a tall, shadowy figure loomed, his outline sharp and violent, his presence suffocating the air. Emily's hollow eyes locked onto mine, and she whispered one word I'll never forget: "Hurry." Then everything vanished. The figure, the ghost, the coldness, and for the first time, I felt like the haunting wasn't inside my house anymore, it was waiting outside. The next morning, I drove back to the town near the motel, determined to find Arthur Crow. As I approached the old abandoned staff housing behind the motel, Emily's presence overwhelmed me. The smell of her perfume, the sudden drop in temperature, the faint echo of her breath right beside my ear. It was like she was pulling me forward. The staff building was rotten, collapsing, but inside, I found something that froze my blood. A wall covered in newspaper clippings about Emily's death, police files, missing reports, and in the center, a Polaroid photo of her taken the night she died. And beside it, scribbled in rough handwriting, were the words, "She wouldn't listen." My stomach twisted. This was Arthur's hiding place. I turned to leave, but the sound of footsteps echoed behind me, slow, heavy, deliberate. I ducked behind a broken doorframe just as a man entered the room. Tall, thin, with shaking hands, and a crooked posture, like each step was dragging resentment with it. His face was aged, wrinkled, but unmistakably the same man from the old staff photo. Arthur Crow. I watched as he stared at Emily's picture, whispering, "You made me do it." My blood froze. Suddenly, the temperature dropped violently. Emily was here. Arthur sensed it too, because he snapped his head up, eyes wide with panic, and yelled, "Leave me alone." The lights burst, shadows twisted, and Emily materialized behind him, her face inches from his neck, whispering something I couldn't hear. Arthur screamed, not like a man, but like a wounded animal. stumbling backward, hitting the wall, clutching his chest. I came out of hiding, shouting for him to stop, but it was too late. His body collapsed onto the broken floorboards, lifeless, his eyes wide open in terror, just like Emily's had been. The room went silent. Emily turned toward me, her expression softer, almost human, as if a weight had finally lifted from her soul. She reached a trembling hand toward me, and for the first time, I didn't feel fear. I felt sadness. She mouthed the words, "Thank you." And then, she was gone. Completely gone. No cold air. No perfume. No shadows. Nothing. The haunting ended that night. But the story didn't. Because when the police arrived and investigated the scene, they found something in Arthur's pocket. A list of names. Every one of them was crossed out, except the last one. And the last name on the list was mine. Which means Arthur had been watching me long before I went to the motel. And that raises a question that still keeps me awake at night. Did Emily haunt me because she needed help? Or because she knew I was next? For weeks after Arthur's death, I tried to return to a normal life, convincing myself the nightmare was finally over. But deep down, I could feel something still lingering in the corners of my home. Not like a presence watching me, but like a warning waiting to be understood. I kept Arthur's list hidden in my drawer, the paper stained, old, and smelling faintly of the same motel dust that started all of this. Some nights I would stare at my name, the last name uncrossed, and wonder how close he had come. How many times he might have stood outside my house while I slept, and how many moments of my life were unknowingly borrowed from the edge of death. But one night, something happened that made everything clear. Around 3 a.m., the walls in my room began to throb softly, like a heartbeat pulsing through the house. I sat up frozen, and then my bedroom light flickered once. Not in fear, not in threat, but like a signal. My phone buzzed on the table. A notification appeared with no sender, no number, no app, just 3 words glowing on the screen. "It's finished now." My breath stopped. The room grew calm, warm even, and for the first time in months, I felt the weight leave my chest completely. I knew instantly. It was her, Emily. Not haunting, but saying goodbye. A soft breeze passed through the room, brushing against my shoulder, almost like a gentle hand thanking me one last time, and then everything went still. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was peaceful. The haunting had ended. Emily was finally free. But as I lay back, staring at the ceiling, a thought carved itself into my mind like ice. If she could reach me from the other side, then who else could? And as the clock hit 3:33 a.m., somewhere far away, a motel room door creaked open on its own, and a whisper echoed through the empty hallway, almost curious, almost familiar. Who's next?